Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you how I came up with a recipe to mimic this natural stone with epoxy. All right, so I got this sample piece of granite, and honestly, it's probably just a piece that was left over from someone's install at a store, and it was $120. I loved it. I love the look, so I brought it home, and I'm going to try to create something for a fraction of the cost and a lot lighter. So these are the colors that I chose. We're gonna start off with creating a white pearlish background, and with that I'm gonna be starting off with our Alumilite white dye, and I have tinted it very opaque. Then I want to come in, and a lot of you guys hear me say this, I want to have, this is whole milk, I want to make skim milk. So I'm just going to dip my stick, bring it over here, and I'm going to make me some skim milk. And the reason I do that is I want to create depth in my piece. So there's our skim milk, all right? In this cup I have just clear, but I have added a little bit of the secret sauce, which is a tiny bit of diamond dust. All right, and here, this is our Just Resin Shimmer Pearl. Beautiful. Now it is different than our pearl metallic. This is a shimmer pearl. Has a little bit more of a shimmer to it. Then a tiny bit, and I probably won't even use all of this, Just Resin Charcoal Gray, just to darken it up just a bit. And then for our silver tones, I have our silver, our bright silver mica powder. And then for some accent bling bling, I have clear, and I really loaded it up with the diamond dust. We'll just use that for an accent. All right, so I left a little bit of my epoxy in the bucket. I'm gonna turn it upside down. And what I'm gonna do with this is just do a grease coat. All that grease coat does is allow the epoxy to move a little easier, because epoxy likes to go where epoxy has already been. You don't have to put a lot of this. You just pull it nice and tight with a Bondo spreader. All right, so what I've done so far, also you'll notice on the front of the piece, I've come in with our new product, and this is our Fusion Spray. Our Fusion Spray is not a spray paint, it's actually mica powders that are suspended in an alcohol base. So there are no propellants like spray paint, it's pure mica powder and alcohol. All right, so that's what we've done to the front. I can take very lightly, kind of push that epoxy over the edge. All that does is kind of create an undertone for our edge as the epoxy rolls over. All right, so what we're gonna do first, we're gonna come in and we're gonna very, very randomly, we're gonna lay down our base coat, which is our white. Now you'll notice I'm not putting it in big blobs. Usually that's how I do my pours, but I want this white to be a little more random all over the piece. The reason I'm doing it tighter instead of big blobs is because if you look at the piece, if you look at the background first, and that's how I do my recipes, the first thing I do when I see this piece is I look past all of this top gray, and I look past and I'm looking down at what I believe is the first thing that I need to put, and that's what I'm creating right now. So I'm coming in now with my skim milk, my clear with the diamond dust. All right, then I'm gonna come in with a little bit, I'm not gonna use all of the Just Resin Shimmer Pearl, just gonna use some of it, because I think I'm gonna use some more in the top when we start doing some accents. So I used probably about half of that. I'm gonna torch it very lightly to warm up all of the epoxy. And then I'm gonna meld it with a Bondo spreader. Now by melding this, I'm creating depth with all of those colors. Now I don't want to over meld. If I over meld, then all I've done is create one solid color on top. So I'm not really doing a directional pour as I'm melding, because the background doesn't really matter. And I don't really want a lot of directional designs on my background. Now, if you don't want a dark edge, I wanted a dark edge. If you don't want a dark edge, you definitely don't have to fog your edge prior to starting. Now, I'm gonna let this sit for about probably 10 minutes because I want this to quit moving, kind of settle down before I do my next step. Okay, so while this is resting, let's talk a little bit about how we break down a recipe. When I look at natural stone, the first thing my eye goes to is depth. I want to see what is in the background. And in this case, my background colors are the whites, which is what we've created here. And then I'll start kind of looking at the design as it moves forward to me. In my opinion, the next thing that I'm gonna address are these vertical striated gray lines and see how it goes from kind of a light to dark. And this is where I'm gonna be using my charcoal, and then it goes back light again. Now, granted, this is a very small piece, so if this were the size of a countertop, you may have that variation over and over and over again. But this is kind of the way that I look at something and derive a recipe. Another thing I like to do is look at it and see what kind of reaction I would get if I added alcohol. The reason I'm using dyes and mica powder and paste on this particular piece is because I know later on in this project, I'm gonna spritz it with alcohol. And alcohol reacts differently with every single one of my mediums. It's gonna react differently with my dye, it's gonna react different with my paste and my mica powder. So I know just by looking at the surface that there's random textures, and I know that I can create that by using different mediums and then spritzing it with alcohol. Another thing I look for is what technique could I use to replicate this piece. Actually, in this one piece, I could do a dirty pour, but I would have to do a lot of different layers, and I'm not exactly sure if it would turn out as striated as I want, because as you do a dirty pour, you kind of lose control. I'm gonna try to come in with just a striated pattern. That's why I'm letting this epoxy set up just a little bit so I won't have as much movement. If this were more of a random colors and melding of the colors, I would know then it would probably be a melded marble. The most important thing that I want you guys to take away from this is practice, practice, practice. Do some sample boards, do different techniques before you fully send and go in and do your whole kitchen. Okay, let's start our layers. So I'm gonna come in first with the gray mica powder. And as we talked a little earlier, I am gonna do a striation. So I'm gonna come in here and very lightly start laying down my gray, getting lighter as I go to the edge. Save a little bit of that in the cup. Then I'm gonna come in with the leftover amount of my shimmer pearl. And I'm gonna kind of keep it more towards the edges of my piece. Little bit in the middle, not a lot. So what I wanna do now before I start adding is I'm gonna come in here on my Bondo spreader and I'm gonna start creating these striations. Now I'm intentionally leaving some big gaps because like in the stone, you have variation of those colors. And then as we come out here, I'm gonna use my hand. I'm gonna make it a little bit softer. All right, so let's start adding a little bit of our darker gray. Again, I'll come back in with my Bondo spreader. Remember guys, you can always add more. You can also, if you don't have a Bondo spreader, come in with a popsicle stick. Do the same thing. All right, so we got our base colors down. I'm gonna come in now with our secret sauce. This is the same product that I fogged my edges with, but this time we're gonna come in with a Mystic Gray. Very important, guys, when you use this product that you shake it really well. And then we're gonna just come in here and basically spray our top down. Now, like I said, this is a mica spray. And then I'm gonna come back in here, drag. Now, as I drag my Bondo spreader, I kind of twist it just a little bit, and that opens it up and allows that background to kind of peekaboo through. I like that. I think I'm gonna add a little bit of black as well. Not a lot, just a couple of areas. All right, now comes the fun part. My clear with my diamond dust. I'm gonna come in and make some really distinct pockets of that diamond dust. And because it's been kind of sitting up in my cup a little bit, it's gotten a little thicker. And then I think I'm just gonna kind of come over here, drizzle it so it runs really thin lines throughout my whole piece. All right, so I've got 91% isopropyl alcohol, and I'm gonna set it at not a super fine mist, but I don't want really big drops. And I'm gonna just very lightly mist over the entire surface. Now I don't want to add too much, because if I add too much alcohol, it's going to make it very blurry and my piece is going to move. If you're really in a warm area and your epoxy is still very fluid, you may want to let your epoxy set up a good 15 to 20 more minutes, and that way it's guaranteed not to move. I'm seeing a few of these bigger drops that I'm not super happy with. So I'm going to go in and kind of touch those up, let it sit up for just a little bit, and then I'll come in and spritz it one more time. And then to address these bigger pockets, I'm going to come back in with some white. See if I have a little bit. That's why it's always really smart to leave a little bit of epoxy in your cup. So I'm going to come back in with some white, add a little bit of clear to that. Or actually, this is my skim milk. Now we can start getting a little more detailed. I'm gonna run some clear through there. Running clear veins is a really good way to open up your color and also give it that 3D effect. And hit it one more time. All right, so after letting it settle and comparing it to my piece, what I've created, in my opinion, is a little darker than what's on the piece. That's why I really want you guys to practice. If I had to do this over again, I would probably lighten it up just a tad and maybe use just a little bit more of the silver mica powder. Let me know in the comments below what you would do to make it match my piece. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed kind of seeing how I pick apart natural stone and try to recreate it. Again, make sure that you do sample boards. Each time you kind of tweak it a little bit, and the most important thing is video yourself doing the piece. If you don't want the video on yourself, just put it on your piece, but talk to yourself, talk to the camera so that you will know how to recreate this again. Alrighty guys, let me know, what would you do different on this piece in the comments below. All of these products are available on our website, RK3Designs.com, where we do free shipping on orders over $100 and same-day shipping as long as you order before noon Texas time, that's Central Time. If you would like to see more videos like this, let me know. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel, guys. We are almost at 100,000 and I am so excited. So when we hit 100K, we are going to have a party. You know we go live every Tuesday night here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. But when we hit 100,000, we're gonna go live and we're gonna have a party. So make sure to ring that bell to get notified. That way you'll know every time we either go live or we post a video. Also, I would love to invite you to our Facebook, RK3 Design Epoxy Insiders. We have a growing community of so many helpful artisans where you can post your pictures, good and bad, ask questions, and get inspired. So jump over to Facebook and join us today. Until next week, guys, remember, don't be scared, move forward, and be creative.